These are my top 5 wall ball exercises for speed and power development. So first, let's talk a little bit about wall balls. Wall balls are meant to be used with speed and power and bring that power back to you so you can do rapid fire exercises. And they're called wall balls because they're not really meant to be slammed. Otherwise, they would be called slam balls. These are meant to be used against the wall. But I want to say that I've used lots of these things in the past, and the really good brands, the top of the line brands, I haven't really had any problems using them to slam on the floor. They can take a beat in these things. The cheaper the wall ball, the more it's going to get damaged, the more the inside is going to basically move around, and the more risk you have of reducing the compromise in the stitching. So if you do decide to use these in a gym, either buy them yourself or expect to get a couple of looks from some conscientious gym owners who are like, yeah, these things aren't meant to be for slamming. You'll get some looks. So let's move on. First exercise, number 1, is going to be a speed chest press. Now, the speed chest press is a great exercise for exactly that, speed development. You're going to pick a moderate to light ball because your objective with this is to move it as quickly as possible. The idea is to accelerate it, let the force come back to you, decelerate it as quickly as possible, and change its direction. So you're really looking at that rapid fire recruitment, those fast twitch muscle fibers. You're also going to give I use it as part of my chest warm up as well, because you're actively compressing the ball, you're using the chest muscles, and it gives them a good little warm up and gets them ready for some heavier lifts. Number 2 is the speed slam. This isn't something you see a lot. The trick to make this work, it's the same basically as the first exercise, the speed chest press, except this is now going to be using your lats a little bit more. And again, you're going to be using these in rapid fire motion. The trick with this movement is to shorten the distance between the impact of the ball and you taking control of the ball again. Because if you do this onto the floor, you're going to slam it. It's going to take time to come back up. You're going to bring it all the way and move it. So you don't get much of this quick turnaround from catch up, down. So a way you can do this is you can either kneel down and do it on the knees, or you can add a plyo box, which gives you even more force back from the ball and brings it back much quicker, and it makes the distance much shorter, so you can rapid fire 8 to 12 reps as fast as you can do them. And with these kind of the first 2 exercises, once you start to lose that speed, you stop the exercise, because the goal of the exercise is to generate speed. It's velocity training. If you lose velocity, there's no point doing it. You can also do the same thing if you don't want to slam a wall ball. You can either use the wall ball on the box, which makes the difference, or you can also do it with a slam ball as well. It's a little bit different with a slam ball, but it still comes back pretty quickly. Number 3 is the single arm chest pass. I really like this exercise because it teaches you the ground connection, where at the end of the day, if you're accelerating something, you're not doing it from floating in the air. You're using the floor, and it's just good mechanics to be able to generate force from the floor and power it. So you've got this power from the floor, through the hip, through the shoulder, to the final release. Again, with the weight selection, you're trying to pick a weight that is in that sweet spot where it's heavy, but it's not so heavy that you can't accelerate it with a lot of velocity. So what you want to do is try and find that sweet spot where you pick a ball that is heavy enough that you can accelerate it with a lot of force, but is not too heavy that it doesn't move quickly. So a way you can do this is you can take what you think is a ball that is one underneath the one you think you're going to use, and do it with speed, get the power on there, and then move up to the ball you think you're going to work with. If you can move it with the same speed, then it's probably a good weight. Because if you notice like a 10 to 15% drop off, then it's probably a little bit too heavy, and you probably would have been better with your lighter selection. Again, you'd progress this as when the speed moves up, maybe you move up to the heavier ball, and then you'll see a difference with your velocity training. Brilliant core exercise. Next exercise is the step to overhead throw. Again, this is the same kind of principle as the standing chest press. The emphasis is the floor and the power through the movement, from the back of the movement, through the floor, onto the front foot. When you see people throw the javelin, they sprint as fast as they can. They jam that front foot down onto the floor, and it sends a wave of tension through the body, which is then released through the javelin. It's the same thing with this ball slam. You notice a big difference. If you just step lightly and throw, you're going to find it really hard to generate the most power on the movement. The weight selection would be similar to the single arm press, heavy but not too heavy. And my cue on this one would be to imagine you're stepping on a cockroach. You see a cockroach in front, you step, you slam, crush it, or if it helps, just imagine you're stepping on the face of someone you dislike. Yeah, that often helps. But again, power through the body, impact, and generate the force through the end at the hands. Number 5 is ball rotations. We're going to call this 5A and 5B because what I've done with the other exercises, I've given you speed, and I've given you power, and I've given you speed and power. So we'll do the same thing. It's really 6 points, but it's the same exercise. You're going to stand by a wall, you're going to rotate. So 5A would be the speed version. You want to stand relatively close to the wall, but there isn't much space for the ball to come back. And you want to do it and catch it and return it. So you don't want to bring it all the way back from this position. You want to throw, catch, release, kill the movement, and then change direction as quick as possible. The same thing with the other one is you would now, if you're going to go for power, you would step a little bit further away. You would add a step to it, and you would rotate and release the ball. So it has to travel a further distance, then you would bring it back, reset, and throw. So it's not about the speed of repetitions, it's about the power of repetitions. But the important thing with both of these exercises is not to use your arms with the exercise. There's a big difference between if you do this, and you're throwing, and you're catching, and you're throwing, your arms will just get tired. You want to make sure your hips are doing the movement. So I would take the ball from this position, I would keep it close, and I would release from that position. When the ball comes back, you're keeping it in this position, tight to the body. It's going to make it much easier to release and add power to the movement. Whereas if it's out this far, you're going to need a lighter ball for 1, and 2, your arms are going to get tired before you can generate your maximum speed and your maximum rotational force. That's it, top 5.